Hey Mary, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I don't
Okay.
know. Can we hear anybody in the chambers?
No, because they don't have there they are. I
Can you
just
guys
wanted to,
hear us, Mary and
Now,
Diane?
now I can hear you.
Okay,
Good.
we're wondering if Colin's gonna show up, then we'll get started. We
okay,
might
can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, loud
Okay.
and clear.
Okay, great.
I wonder if that is him.
Can you text him?
Texting him, calling him, or
I'm
Oh, do you want me to?
I'm texting him. I'm halfway
Okay,
through.
just bring up the
I looked up and
agenda
I'm like, is she?
on my phone, just since I can't see it on the computer. Oh. Do have a quorum, those three.
We do. And we've got one here. That's the requirements. But he didn't answer his phone.
Jessica, are you ready to start if we start?
That's him. Hello, sir. 4
It's already
o'clock.
recording and it's live streaming, so it's ready whenever y'all
Whenever
are.
I decide to start.
Yep.
Okay, much appreciated. Alrighty. He'll be on his way. He had it at 4:30 for some reason.
Okay. I think we'll start anyway. So yeah, I will call this meeting of the Solid Waste Special Districts, Special Service District Number 1, also known as the Canadian Lands Solid Waste Authority, to order at 4:03 p.m. Present are board members, me, Chad Harris, Diane Ackerman, and Mary McGann. Also our staff, Lily, Jessica, Chris, and Mike. And also visiting with us, maybe not for the first time, is Mike Dunaway. We'll be hearing from him in a minute. First thing up is citizens input. Looks like there's a couple citizens to be heard. Is that right? Someone by the name of Chad. Could be me. I don't know.
Chad doesn't have his camera on.
Yes,
Doesn't have to, nope. Just saying.
Are there any other citizens to be here? Does anybody out there have anything to say?
Chat. Oh,
Mary Cares, okay.
should we message Chad? See if he has a comment? Oh. Different keyboard. No, it's just delayed.
Could we move on just because I have a real tight schedule?
Yeah, I know Mary needs to be done soon. So, yeah, if Jessica, if you keep trying with this mysterious Chad fellow. Let's move on to agenda item number, letter A. Interview applicant for open at-large board member. That's you, Mike.
Okay.
I asked the board members to come prepared with a few questions. Do you guys have some questions, Diane and Mary? And if so,
I have some questions as far. Did you have prepared questions, Chad?
I have a few, just I've come up with a few, and then I think we should let Mike tell us a little bit about himself, maybe why he's interested in joining the board, and then we can ask some questions.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Mike Dunaway. I'm a resident of Moab and Grand County. I have been living here since 2011 in my current iteration. I also lived here in the 90s. I work for the U.S. Geological Survey over here on Resource Boulevard. I'm a research ecologist. I have a PhD in soil science. Got a family, 3 kids. My last kid is graduating high school this May, and I thought it was a good time for me to give back to the community by serving on boards. I study climate change and carbon, and I have a lot of coursework in soils, which has to do with, critical minerals and landfills. And I know the work that the solid waste district does is sort of important for both local things locally and nationally. So I'm happy to be here and have the opportunity. Colin, let me know. Colin's my neighbor. Let me know there was an opening. So that's how I got here today.
Cool. Mary, did you say you had some questions?
I was just wondering, you answered a lot of them through your introduction as far as your background and such. How is your time as far as, is it going to be easy for you to make the meetings and any come in for check signing and such as that?
Yeah, I had the same question more specifically, like how much time are you willing to devote?
Have we explained the time?
I haven't heard the time commitment. I looked on your website. You guys have monthly meetings. I should be able to make those most of the time. I saw you get kicked off if you miss 3 in a row or something.
I believe that is the policy.
Yeah. I don't know about always being in person. Often I will. I mean, I think we all had, at least myself, had plenty of time with Zoom life, and I don't want more of that. But I'm also, I've got smartphone and stuff, and so I'm sure I can make the meetings when they're remote, or if I'm out of town, if I'm in cell service. Check signing, like how?
Another responsibility of the board is the signing of checks and approving expenditures.
Mhm.
So that's every other week. It coincides with our payroll, and I prepare a little packet, and you make sure an invoice matches the check and sign the check. Or if I pay electronically by ACH, make sure the invoice matches.
Okay.
And is a legitimate expenditure.
So there's 2 of the 5 board members need to come in every other week. And
Okay.
then there's the monthly board meetings, which are, say, 2 hours. And that's kind of the minimum of time. Most of my other time is involved in, emailing and just reading up on things, reading the board packets in preparation for the meetings. So it could be anywhere from, 2 to 5 hours a week is kind of.
Really?
It depends,
You are the chair.
So my time has gone up quite a bit in the last few months, my time that I'm dedicated. But yeah, I mean, minimum is like, let's say 3 hours a month. All right. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to speak for Diane and Mary, but I know we all put in more time than that. I definitely do.
There's periodically extra meetings or workshops when something comes up, but it's not that often. I would say maybe 3 a year, 3 or 4 a year
Yeah.
that we have to get, that something comes up that can't wait till the meeting to decide on. It's not common, but it does happen.
So I can definitely do 3 hours a month. I cannot do 5 times 4, which would be 20 hours a month. If it's on the 3 hours a month level, that's for sure. I mean, I served on our HOA there. I live in Mulberry Grove, Colin. I served on the HOA, and I was the president and the vice president, which has a similar time commitment. So I think I could do that again. I don't think I could do
Yeah, well,
that, what you're talking about.
nobody's asking you to. I'm trying to put an upper limit on, or,
Try not to sure.
trying to bracket, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's becoming more time consuming for them. I hope that some of the personnel and whatnot that they've had to deal with in the past has gone down. But we do have some important decisions in the coming years. Long-term decisions and things we're working on that if you're on the board, we'll go into more. But that's the minimum, the 3 hours. I'd like to meet with, we've had one face-to-face, but we need to have more. We can't have more than 2 board members in a room, or it could be considered a meeting.
All right.
So that's something on my board that I'd like to this month meet individually with each of the board members more often. Even if it's just an hour a month. Just so that we can talk more openly as opposed to during the meetings.
Got it.
You guys have anything to add to that, Chris?
Diane, do you have any questions?
No, I'm just ecstatic that Mike wants to serve on a board. I know it's really tough to find board members that are dedicated, have the knowledge, or just have the passion. And I think it's wonderful, Mike. I'm glad you're here.
Colin. I do need to, I told Lily this, I do need to, I work for so USGS, the Department of Interior, I have to run it through ethics, but it doesn't seem like there should be any conflict. You guys don't, and like, doing like land negotiations with the BLM or anything, right?
No.
Yes.
Huh?
For Kayla,
Oh, yes.
isn't that established though?
No, we're gonna expand some of our requests with the BLM.
I don't work for the BLM, so it shouldn't be an issue, but you guys are trying to expand your, you're doing a land swap.
It's more, well, it's actually jurisdictional over some waterways and easements and stuff around the landfills.
I can't think of any direct, negotiations.
Well,
I
I
know
think
what-
he sounds great. I think I would like to make a motion that we,
Take a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we submit Mike to his name to the Kent County Commission as a replacement to complete Kevin's term.
I second it.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Diane. Any other discussion? I have one more question.
Okay.
I'd like to know what you think you can do, how you can serve as a link between this board and the community or your professional capacity. How can you, what can you bring to the board? What unique things can you bring to this board?
Well, I mean, I think probably my educational background would be unique. I don't know how much that comes into the board's decision, thinking about sort of like, I don't know if you guys are going this route, but like the carbon costs of the work that you're doing. The other thing is, this isn't unique, because Colin's in the same community, but we're very involved in Mulberry Grove with things related to sustainability and recycling and stuff. I think particularly I've done a lot, and you guys have too, but I've done a lot of reading about recycling, in particular in light of climate change and how much we should be recycling relative to not versus for the carbon cost of things. And I'm sure that's a contentious issue, but I think maybe I could bring a perspective.
Valuable insight, yeah.
On that.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other discussion? I should note for the record that Colin has joined the meeting. Did you? Okay. Any other discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Colin.
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Chad votes yes as well. Motion passes 4-0.
Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to hang out and listen in, or you can.
I gotta skedaddle. This is not a good start. This is not gonna be a foreshadowing of my future, but I do need to get back to work today.
Okay.
The appointment would be ending. There's a thing, a form I need to do for ethics. It needs the term.
That's a good question. I can get back on you because as Mary brought up, I'm not sure if you're completing the open term of the previous member that resigned or if it would be a new term. So I will. find that out
Didn't we
tomorrow.
vote in Kevin this year? I know we did Chad, correct?
Yeah, it was me for sure. Are they 2-year terms?
They're 4-year.
I
Okay.
believe you were the only one.
So it's,
Yeah.
if you're completing his term, it's probably going to be, we can let you know.
Yeah, that's fine. You can email me. And then it's unpaid, right?
Currently,
Currently.
we are looking at a stipend for non-elected members.
That's not yet. There's a box on my
For
form
sure.
I have to fill out about that. too.
Not yet. It would
Okay.
be no compensation.
All right, great. Great to meet you all. Looking forward to it.
Thanks, Mike.
And so then the next meeting would be,
May 15th unless we change it.
Second Wednesday,
Third.
Wednesday,
Yes,
third Wednesday.
of every month.
At
Oh.
4, Mike.
no,
So we can leave it at 4:30.
okay. Put it in my calendar.
Chad, I'll get the letter we have to send to the commission written up for your signature.
Okay, sounds good. Can I sign it tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I'll be able to do that.
Send it to you electronically.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks.
Action item B, vote we just did that. Moving down to C. Review and approval of March 2024 minutes. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for the March 20th, 2024 regular meeting as stated in the board packet.
Thank you, Diane. Is there a second?
Second that.
Thank you, John. Any discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Diane,
Yes.
Colin,
Aye.
Mary, are you still there?
Yes, I am, but I am going to check out. I bowed out of another meeting to attend this meeting. So I will, now that you have a quorum, I'm going to go back to the other meeting.
Okay, thanks, Mary.
So yes, I approve the minutes.
Okay, and I do too. I think that motion passes 4-0. Let's see, item D, review and approve March 2024 financials.
Yeah. Would anyone like them brought up to share the screen?
Would be, yeah, that'd be helpful because we
Okay.
can't bring them up on.
Yeah, they're there. All right, so let's see, expenses were lower in March than in February. Payroll expenses were about $64,000 less, so that was due mainly to March insurance premiums weren't paid until this month. And let's see, the February health savings account contribution was delayed also until this month. I had it all prepared, thought I'd hit submit, I had not hit submit. So, so that was also delayed for my clerical error. Let's see, but the actual wages were very close between the 2 months. February wages came out to about 175,000. March wages were 171,000.
Okay.
One of the things to note, there were in March some large vacation payouts with staff leaving, particularly LJ. She had a lot of vacation accrued. But luckily there was also a decrease in the number of employee loans that were initiated in March. So I think that, you know, pluses and minuses.
That were initiated?
Yeah, that were like taken out.
Okay, how many were initiated?
In February, I believe there were 3.
In March was,
I believe only 1.
how many have been in April?
I don't
Any
think
requests?
we haven't had any.
Okay.
I don't believe.
No, I don't believe
Yeah, my
so.
understanding of these were pretty rare, but not like a
They're
monthly.
becoming more common. So I am glad that we lowered the
exactly.
amount to $1,000. We did have one employee leave with a balance due. The total that they still owe came to $23 and change though, after vacation and some stuff. So we weren't out much with that. Let's see, operations expenses were $50,000 less than in February. February, I think, was artificially high because there was a large, almost $30,000 payment that had been delayed, just with open invoices that hadn't been received. So I think, again, just delayed payments. February was a big month. Fuel expenses were, you know, again, pretty similar. We did pay the CAT D7 annual loan payment, which was just under $60,000 in March. And the PTIF fund, a check was printed in February. It still has yet to be sent. We have only made 1 payment to the PTIF fund so far this year. Due to cash flow, I haven't been able to get more payments out. Are there any questions about expenses?
So I'm surprised that payroll for March is on par with February, even just a little bit less. Why?
You'd think February because of less days.
Well, so our pay periods are every 2 weeks, so
Okay.
the months are kind of arbitrary. There are 2 months a year that have 3 payrolls, which will
Okay.
obviously be higher with that. But
Okay.
it's just looking at 2 pay periods, so pay over 4 weeks, kind of the days are arbitrary.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
it does, but we don't see a big pickup in hours for the spring. Spring is taking in.
Well, we've been short of people to the last couple of weeks.
Okay.
February, we were short of people a lot.
Okay,
Down position, I'm sorry to step on your toes, Mike. LG's vacation payout was close to $10,000. So I
Okay.
think that is kind of compensating for.
okay.
But that was paid out in March because she left. Her last payroll was in March. So, yeah, I definitely spent some time looking at it. I thought it was interesting that they were so close.
Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna. Surprisingly.
I would see a bit of an increase. We are watching the overtime, and some of the changes we made have helped. But we are back to basically what I'd consider full staff, maybe not where I'd like to have another CDL driver. But we've got enough to get by and have a little wiggle room. Would you say that's a safe way to say it? The other mechanic started this month, so he'll be back. I mean, that'll affect going forward. We hired back a helper. So it'll probably be up a little bit just because we're more at full staff now.
Yeah, and I think another thing I thought of is February, we lost 3 positions starting in March from February. So it'd be down LJ's position, which,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know, and then
yeah,
2
absolutely.
drivers.
That's a great.
So I think losing those 3 people.
That's
um,
great.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I guess I have a question about the PTIF fund. Seems like at the last meeting, Lily, you were looking at some creative.
Breaking up the payment, so it wasn't
Yeah,
100,000.
yeah, and I wondered where you were with that and what's that like?
I mean, it's still an idea. I still don't have the cash flow to get 50,000 out in a chunk right now.
Okay,
I mean, if it's payroll and, you know, paying our vendors, you know, to keep vehicle repairs going, I'm choosing that over the PTIF fund, which will hurt us next year, but to keep the operation going, those are the choices we're making in-house right now.
and so the PTIF comes out twice a year?
Please correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but we make one large bond payment
Yeah,
of,
the bond payment, the principal and interest is the one that is coming up in May. And then there's just an interest payment for in November. So the PTIF funds, the funds that we move over to the PTIF account, allow for those bond payments. And that's why it's real critical that the $100K a month, occur so that next year we have the money to pay that bond payment.
it's like putting it in an account, setting it aside so we
Yeah,
can make the.
it's a set aside so that that money's there when it's due.
So do we just kick the can down the pike, down the road?
I'm hoping
Well,
that
we've got to get caught up at some point, otherwise we will not be able to make the bond payment next year.
we do have 2 large checks that we're expecting, one from first quarter TRT revenue from the county. I invoiced it on the 1st of April, which was the start of second quarter. I do not have an update on when we will be receiving that money, but that is 125,000 right there, which I'm planning will go directly to the PTIF.
We're certainly hoping. I'll be addressing some of that in my report, Diane.
Okay,
But yeah, we are definitely in danger for next year.
well, we just need to talk about it and see what can be done. And
Absolutely. I mean, all of the expenditures, we're not buying office lunches. We're not spending extravagantly on anything. We're pretty much just buying coffee and creamer for the drivers. And everything else, if you look at the Excel, or the PDF, the 4-page PDF, it's each line item, it's, vehicle repairs, fleet fuel. These are all critical expenses to keep the district running. I don't see where, right now, how we can be more, cost cutting.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the expenditures for the month of March, 2024, in the amount of $372,457.07.
Thank you, Colin. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Diane, any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Colin?
Aye.
Diane?
Yep.
Chad votes yes as well. Motion passes 3-0. Agenda item E, staff reports. Mike, you're up.
Alrighty. It's been a rough month. It's the only way I try to stay as positive as possible, but I've lost some sleep this month. First off, I think everyone knows about our situation with what we're calling our large roll-off. Our trucks are still not up. The one we're renting is due here this evening late or early tomorrow morning, and it'll immediately be put into service. You've seen the truck we're subcontracting from Kurtz Welding being used around town slowly but surely. But we are behind in servicing our customers with the largest dumpsters. But hopefully we'll be caught up by the end of the week, if not early next week for sure. AMCS, the story continues slowly. I'm not going to say much today. We did not bill this past month, but it's looking really, really good for this coming month. Lily and Savannah have been working hard on that, as well as other people. We did see a slight uptick in attention from AMCS to help us get this going. After I contacted one of the VPs, we'll see if that continues. I'm already getting the feeling that it's ramping back down, but we have made some progress, and it is 90% sure we'll build, 80% sure, right around there, that we'll be able to bill. We'll know next week. We have got new tablets to use. We were able to get them from T-Mobile. They're larger and technologically upgraded. We tried one out for free. We're going to be getting those delivered this week, hopefully. They're en route from Brooklyn. We went with this because we were concerned that the tablets were hampering the system. These are better tablets. We're actually getting them at a lower monthly rate than we were from Verizon. So we're trimming $100 or $2 there. So we're hoping that'll help the system and the drivers. They won't have to reset as much. They won't have to turn it on and off as much, and it should work better. The one we tried out had hardly any issues. So, the city contract negotiations, there has been a slight delay, something we feared when the city manager left. Colin's been in discussions with the acting city manager. So we're hoping to get that back on the front burner a little bit this week, this coming week. Something you fear when people transition to new positions. The Thompson Springs land sale hit a slight snag. Their inspection found a buried car. And that is the one thing they asked us to remove. They're quite serious about it. Right now we're working with them well, and Chris Levi and myself had a meeting this morning. We have to have it done by the 7th. That will cost us a few $1,000s probably, but we've got no choice. We need to do it. And we're gonna need that, that funding from the sale to help cover the roll-off that we're renting. This next part, will be a majority of my report. As Diane mentioned, you know, we got to figure out a way to make at least some more money, or some cost savings in order to start putting some money away for next year. Chris, Lily, myself have been talking. We're going to be making, due to our financial situation, we're forced to make some challenging decisions. In the coming weeks, we're going to be implementing 2 major cost-saving measures to affect us. One, we're not going to be filling some open positions. We had an operator retire. We're not going to fill his position. We had a CSR put in her notice. We're not going to fill her position. This is going to force us to do more with less. It's not going to be easy. We're very concerned about the transition of the city billing with one less person in the office. But we need to make some tough decisions. The second action will also have us doing more with less. Rather than having 2 employees at all the facilities, the landfills, the CRC, and the transfer station, we're going to be using a more of a floater operator to go between a couple of the facilities. We'll keep a full-time gatehouse at each facility, but we'll be using an operator between the CRC and Moab. They're close enough together that with the proper coordination and management, we ought to be able to do this. We're not covering, we're not bulldozing, we're not lifting bales, 8 hours a day. We know how much the equipment runs, and this is a way to spread it around, basically. We'll also be looking at having an operator coming between Klondike and the transfer more often. That's going to be a little more difficult to do, and that's going to take longer to accomplish. We feel we can do the CRC and the Moab pretty quickly. We're also going to be looking at reducing days. We need to close Moab and the CRC on Mondays. Those are open on Saturdays now. That causes overtime. We'll close those on Mondays. The hours from Tuesday to Saturday will be 8 to 3. That shortens Moab by an hour each day, but it does make the transfer open longer on Saturdays. If they can't dispose it at Moab, they can come to the transfer on Mondays. The transfer and Klondike hours will remain the same. This will reduce nearly all of the overtime at those 3 facilities. The transfer will see a slight increase because we're going to be open an extra couple hours on Saturday. Moab will also be open a couple extra hours, but that's not going to be on overtime because we're closing on Monday. So to sum this up, between benefits and salary, if we're able to basically reduce 3 employees, 3 full-time employees, we'll come very close to being able to cover that $100,000 a month that we need for the 2025 bond payment. As Lily said, we've only made 1 payment this year. So between doing more with less and not filling those 2 positions, that's going to come close to basically those 3 Not all of it, but a big chunk. It's not easy, but it is better than having to reduce the overhead. In a way, we are, but in a way, we're not. We're not filling those positions. It's something we've looked at for a couple of months, and the roll-off situation kind of forced our hand. I'll gladly take questions now while we're on this topic, because I know this is the meat of my report this month.
So Mike, it's Tuesday through Saturday, 8 to 3 o'clock at all three, at two of the three.
Correct, correct.
Okay.
At Moab and the CRC.
How will we be advertising? I know used to be a sign at the CRC with the hours on it. Are we gonna do some kind of advertising that way, or?
Exactly. We'll be posting it at each site. So I haven't set the date when this all takes effect, but we are gonna do it as fast as possible. But we will put signs up so that our repeat customers know that it's occurring. And then we'll put some ads, put it on Facebook, things like this.
Hand out some flyers or something that people dropping off.
I can also.
That's a good idea. Flyers to the customers as they come through.
And send out an email to the businesses that have charge accounts. I have all their email addresses.
Yeah.
These, loading operators,
Mhm.
particularly like between MLF and CRC, how many trips back and forth each day are you anticipating? And are they gonna be driving like the loader back and forth?
No,
What are they
no.
gonna do?
They'll be driving the pickup.
District vehicle.
We needed to prepare for this because we're actually having one operator go off on medical in June. So we made some changes already to prepare for that. But yeah, they'll drive back and forth with a company pickup, and basically the intention is to have 2 people on site when machinery is running. And then Herman, who's gonna be at the CRC majority of the time, will be out working with the public, making sure the front facing part is up in order. That's the idea, from a safety standpoint, is to have 2 people there when machinery is running, when we're baling, when we're loading, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little concerned about safety and travel back and forth and that sort of thing, but
No, we will not be taking the dozer or the loader back and forth.
good to know.
And with the right scheduling, it'll be pretty minimal going back and forth. I've got spreadsheets and we track hours over the last 3 months of how many hours the equipment's actually running. How many hours are actually utilized, how many hours are free hours that are unaccounted for, and that's where we came up with this excess.
I think it's a good idea.
It's a great idea.
And do you have like similar data for like between the transfer station and KLF on Dyke landfill, or? And that's a bit of more of a drive.
Yes.
It's more of a, you go out there, you're spending, I hope the whole afternoon.
Part of what we're doing is we're looking to have the operator out there take a transfer truck with him when he leaves in the morning.
Okay,
And depending on the work level, may or may not come back. It depends on how heavy things are. But that's something we tried with Mike on occasion, and it worked well. And we have 2 operators that are getting their Class A as we speak. So we're like, that would work. That would work.
okay. I appreciate the creativity in this idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
That one's a little bit more, is harder to quantify out there because it's not something like the MLF and CRC they're more easily scheduled, like the hours, they do the same things over and over again. The loads change out at Klondike. So probably Mondays and Fridays that won't work because we're heavy, but we can kind of pull that off during the middle of the week. So it'll be a little bit harder to quantify when it comes down to try to figure out actually how much are we saving by doing this.
We were really, I don't want to say more, but we were concerned about how it would affect the customers. that won't affect the customers as much. The Klondike transfer situation. Moab, they've been at, averaging, it was way less in January and February, but for the last 3 months, they've had about 25 customers a day on Mondays. Which is 4 or 5 an hour. They'll still have that place here, the option here. In January, it was like 5 a day.
25 a day, is that like the lowest day of the week?
We haven't gone that far. We were just worried because that was the day we were.
No, historically Monday has, next to Saturday has been the least utilized day.
So it is this, one of the slowest days.
It's Tuesday through Thursdays are typically your busiest days.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I see the point in also having the Monday and at least have a 2-day weekend for the
Well, yeah. Exactly.
That's important.
Still get them the 40, which is something we always promise people when we're trying to attract them. But this is an option, not something we wanted to do, but we pretty much have to at this point. I haven't even discussed it with Nick yet. This is news to him. It happened fast. But if there's no further questions on that, I'll finish up the report.
Okay.
Speaking of the bond, the nearly $814,000 payment is due in May. We're on track for that. I did speak to Alex with Zions about the open period where we can renegotiate, which is coming up fairly quick. He's already had a couple of tentative. Recording stopped.
Do it, I just walked in.
Alrighty, but Alex has had a couple of tentative but fairly positive discussions with at least 2 financial banks that might be interested. It was much more positive than I thought they would be, but that's a good thing. That's still an option, is to renegotiate our situation. The county attorney's letter on the cease and desist at the gun range, we're meeting with them tomorrow to clarify the situation and find out what's going on. County commissioner will be there, the attorney, the county attorney. I went to the Recycling Coalition of Utah spring meeting. First one of these that I've gone to here in Utah, very informative. I am very glad. I'm not gonna say a whole lot because I think Jessica's gonna show you some things here later. But I will say this, the entire day was about lithium batteries and fires. And it was very, very informative. And I will say this, the number of fires caused by improper disposal of lithium batteries is literally going to explode in the coming years, literally. And we'll share you some of the things we learned with you later. They even had a fire truck there, and they even exploded 3 lithium batteries. And it did not take much. I knew that they could do it, but literally, we have had 2 battery fires already this year directly related to lithium batteries. The scooters are easily disposed of in dumpsters, and they have lithium batteries. We did have the baler at the CRC worked on this month, and there will be further repair and maintenance and repair expenses coming on that. We actually got an estimate of over $3,000 today, just about an hour ago.
No, that was for the new repair, not for the last one.
Yeah, that's $3,000 we're gonna have to spend still, either way. I mentioned earlier, I'd like to meet with each board member, if not individually, in 2s in the coming month or so. And I'd like to do that every couple of months at least, just get the information flowing back and forth a little easier. If we can do that, if you guys could send me, I'll work around your schedule. I can do that much more. If you've got a day and a time, well, let me know. I'll send out an email asking you to do that, tomorrow probably. I'll be off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday next week. I got a son graduating from law school, I'm pretty proud to say. So I'll be in South Carolina. And that's all for me, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for me? How much longer are we paying this bond?
It was an 18-year bond when it started, so we're in year 3. Is that right, Nick? 3? Your mic's off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it commenced on the end of April 2021, so we're coming up 3 years.
All right. Chris?
So I went, since last month, I went to, SWANA training, Integrated Solid Waste Systems. It was very informative. It was actually based around something that we do here. It was full of a lot of information. In a sense, it was kind of depressing as they depicted this as the perfect system and everything worked and all the things that we got to do and the different, problem solving and everything was based around an integrated solid waste system that already was working. But yeah, it had a lot of ideas and I won't go too deep into it, but it was a great training. And I didn't realize how it mirrored our system because I felt like we were kind of unique in the solid waste industry that we did do everything because I haven't run across too many places that have done that. Usually it's a public-private partnership that accomplishes everything that we've done. So, and I will be taking a test to get certified in that. The other thing is, besides the meeting with the lawyer tomorrow, we have a meeting with the engineers. We have, they've just come out with the draft. I ran this draft. If anyone wants a copy, I didn't want to just print out a whole bunch of them. I can send it electronically. This is going to be changed, so I didn't really push it too hard, but this is our plan of operations for the transfer station. There hasn't been a plan of operations since 1998. We got called on it by the DEQ. It was one of those things we knew was going to happen, and we were kind of prepped for it. So it's moving along. Actually, very nice. The people that we're working with at HDR are definitely know they're what they're doing. Only other thing I have is perhaps maybe a little good news out of Klondike. We've recently gotten some basically revenue that's outside the interagency revenue. We've gotten some petroleum contaminated soils. They're a pretty significant amount of money, and there's going to be a few more on the horizon that I've been working with now. I don't know the exact dollar amount because I'm kind of on the ground, but it was
We don't get much new revenue, basically.
Yeah.
This really helped. It's huge, actually. But I hate to be Debbie Downer. We got a check today for 48,000, and that's allowing us to pay the rest of this month's bills.
Sure.
Look that up.
Yes. So it
Where's
got us even.
Where's it from?
Yeah.
so there's multiple areas, and it's through people calling. It's through exploratory mines, it's through some cleanups, it's through the lithium stuff up out of Green River and stuff. It's petroleum contaminated soils. There's a little bit of heavy lifting at the front end administratively to try to, get the rules and regulations appeased before they pass through our gates. But I think the word's kind of being spread around that we're a little bit cheaper than other places. I don't necessarily want to go on the record publicly. Yeah, it's. So, and it is, I mean, because obviously when solid waste purchased monument waste, the revenue source went from collecting it at the gatehouse of Klondike to the curb. And we don't get a whole lot of revenue anymore from just Klondike. So this is kind of just a nice little boost in things. So
Does this contaminated soil require any sort of special treatment at the landfill?
no, actually, it's pretty minimal. I mean, there is, yes, but we can handle it pretty minimally. Basically, it's just, we just get it, we spread it out, let it evaporate a little bit,
Yeah.
and then scoop it up and put it on the working face, and at that point, it's just helps cover the trash.
That's a good cover as well,
Yeah.
cover material.
Technically, it can't be used as cover material, but it does help cover.
Okay. Is there any testing requirements before you come?
Yeah,
Special-
there's, depending on the situation, there's, yeah, basically analytical reports, whether they're T-clips or sometimes it's called generator knowledge, depending on situation. I can use SDSs.
And that's what they have to provide before we accept it.
Yes.
Is there anything any testing we have to do before we can, after you spread it out, before you can just?
No.
So we don't have any.
No, and
official testing. on
And,
ours.
and it was, honestly, it was such because we don't, I've contacted the DEQ just to clarify, because in going around with SWANA and these different symposiums and stuff I go, it was actually told to me, hearsay, that's not what we want to operate on, that petroleum contaminated soils, as long as they pass a paint filter test, can be allowed into a landfill. That was not necessarily true. So I contacted the DEQ, and they gave me the kind of the restrictions, and then it's basically have to wash out for toxicity levels. And which is easy enough done, because they have to supply all the reports and everything. So I just have to review them, and
This is classified as a special waste.
yeah, and special waste, there's special waste manifests. We have to keep the records for X amount of years, because if
Sure.
they get busted doing something, the DEQ and the EPA is gonna track its a chain of custody is what they call it. And we are the end user of that chain of custody.
Well, what a potentially great opportunity, yeah.
Yeah, the timing couldn't have been better.
And that's all I have. Yeah, just waiting on the phone call for the roll off. The driver called me, he tried to put us off for another day. He's like, oh, I'm really, and it's like, well, that's not the deal. I have my phone 24 hours. You call me whenever.
That's right.
So,
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Lily, you next.
All right, billing out of AMCF is looking promising. I told Mike 85% confidence this morning, but I've looked at the numbers again. I think we're about 90% there. So really hoping that happens. That'll be a huge step, a huge relief for the CSRs of not having to manage two systems as much. We will still need the old system for past due balances. And there will still be some time of transitioning credits, and whether we maintain the past due balances in TerraTrash or move them into AMCS, like what that will look like. It's just a lot of manual entry. There's no direct way to just import that data. Other things I've been working on, we've been paying a lot of sales tax, and I can fill out a form with the Utah State Tax Commission and go back 3 years to recoup that. It's a lot of time I have to go through and just have receipts ready if they're requested by the auditor. I asked the tax commission representative the time frame, and she said it was when the auditors get to it. I've only been through about 4 vendors, but I'm already at $2,000, and I haven't touched the credit card receipts yet. We were paying sales tax on everything from our Dominion Energy gas bill to Emory Telecom to Adobe software. It's just been everywhere. So I've been trying to find those and stop paying that.
Lily's fresh eyes are seeing things that.
That's awesome, Lily.
Yeah, I think it will be worth my time. It will definitely be time consuming in the next few months, but I think it could be upwards of $10,000 to $20,000.
That's awesome.
Like Adobe, for instance, it's like $20 a month. So what, $240 a year times 3 years, like that's only one supplier, you know? Let's see, I've also been working on invoicing past due balances for the landfills. There just been kind of some accounts that have been delinquent since 2023. So reaching out, it's been time consuming, but reaching out to those accounts to get them current or telling them I will revoke their charging privileges. So that's been good. The only other kind of thing I've been working on, I've implemented, I'm just going to charge a 2% fee on credit card transactions over $2,000. So credit card merchant processing fees, we pay those. So 2% of $2,000 is $40. I don't want to lose that. I felt like that was a good breakover. You know, it's mainly larger commercial companies. These are not homeowners that are paying $2,000 bills. And also fines. I did find one company, they twice now had disposed of wag bags incorrectly. As a commercial company, they're supposed to pay for them. So they were explicitly told they had to pay for them the next time. And then we have on camera them doing it again, and I fined them for illegal dumping, and they paid it. So
Awesome.
that was, you know, just trying to recoup because we had to send equipment out to them empty the wag bag container. So I'm trying to focus on buttoning things up and
Yeah.
finding any loose ends. Any questions on that?
Keep going. Keep at it.
Yeah.
Lily, I'm curious to the sales tax issue. How will in the future people know that they won't be paying sales tax? I mean, how did all of that not happen at the beginning?
So, I mean, it's definitely happened to me that I've missed it on invoices. When we purchase from a new supplier, we have a form from the Utah State Tax Commission saying that we're exempt as a local government. It's just another step. It was just missed with vendors. I think with the gas bill, it happened with the Monument acquisition. They were a commercial company. When it transferred over, you know,
It never changed.
it never changed. It's like, you know, $2 in the summer, but in the winter, it's over $50 in tax we've been paying because the gas bills are higher then. So I've just been on it, trying to be more on it of sending off that form. If I see sales, looking for sales tax on invoices, if I see it, contacting the company and not paying until they remove it. And then now just going back in the records.
The whole monument thing was basically an acquisition. It was an acquisition, but that takes a couple of years. I've said it before, that type of thing takes at least 2 years for a lot of the bugs to drop out. I think the business term is synergy to take place. And actually, that's part of what we're doing here with, as opposed to just running a landfill, we're running everything and it's slowly coming together.
So I know that with the UNPS, we're a nonprofit, and so we have a number that we
Correct.
provide each time we make a purchase, and then that number makes us tax exempt.
It's the same here. We have a number.
Okay. All right, well, great, thanks.
Is that everything?
That's it.
All right, Jessica, you're up.
As Mike said, I'm gonna just hit with the first thing. I also attended the RCU conference as well. It was held down in Kanab. I created a little summary of all the information that was presented in the meeting. And Diane, I can share it with you on the screen so you can view along as well. There it is.
Would you email that to the board when you get a chance?
Yeah. There we go. Okay, so the main focus was battery management and battery recycling. So basically I just put some facts in there of levels of recyclability of different types of batteries. Unsurprising, lead acid has the highest level because it's been on the market for the longest. So they essentially said throughout the whole process, the longer it's been on the market, typically it has a higher level of recyclability. So lithium ion being one of the newest battery types out there only has roughly a 5% level of recyclability just because it's been on the market for a short amount of time. We heard talks from the UDEQ, TAMS, who is our state certified electronics recycler, and then a couple of private groups that are creating either battery alternatives, which is what that pale blue is. They're creating they're batteries, but they're rechargeable batteries with an actual like plug-in, like a USB-C plug-in. And the other one, I can't remember at the time, NAV something. They were also focusing on training against battery fires and finding alternatives to batteries and whatnot. And then there was the live demonstration of a lithium ion battery, and I just created a little bit of a snippet of, you know, the two main things that you encounter or hazards, which is the thermal runaway, which is basically when the internal structure gets overheated very quickly, very fast, and it destabilizes the central core of the battery. And then you have off-gassing, which is the toxic gases that come off of it when it does catch fire. And they said there's some really nasty stuff in there. What else did I put on there? Oh, and also, when the fire department, the Kanab Fire Department, did a demonstration to show how much water is necessary for extinguishing a fire. So they said a regular gas car takes anywhere from 500 to 1,000 gallons of water, whereas like a Tesla, if it caught on fire, it takes anywhere from 30,000 to 40,000. A fire engine holds roughly 1,000 gallons. So that's 30 fire engines. At this point, they say they just push it off to the road as much as they can and just let it burn itself out.
Yeah, they said get used to seeing them burning by the side of the road, because especially where we're at, they can't just run back and refill the tank.
Sure.
And there's not fire hydrants all along these rural roads.
And then last but not least, I believe Mike said this at last meeting. So the UDEQ provided an update on where they were awarded the Swiffer grant, the one that we were not awarded. And that they would be performing a statewide waste characterization, something that's actually not been done before for the state of Utah. And Grand County or Klondike has been selected as one of their waste characterization sites, and they will be out here in the summer for roughly 3 to 5 days to do a waste characterization study or to gather data for that study. So we'll be one of the pioneering sites for waste characterization for the state of Utah. Let's see, yesterday was the Earth Day event with the city. I chose to do, or the theme of it was trees, or that was the focus I was told. So I decided to do bug motels. So to combat loss of habitat for native pollinators, I chose to do a completely zero waste, no cost bug hotel. I don't have a picture of it, but the Mark loved it so much that they actually requested to keep one of the bug motels so they can encourage native pollinators to come visit their little outdoor garden area. Tomorrow we will be taking one of the recycling trucks to the Montessori. I struggle with that word.
Me too.
We were reached out to by one of the teachers. She's the lead teacher. Just to kind of in celebration of Earth Day. So we have a bunch of 3 to 6 year olds are gonna come out and they're gonna look at the recycling truck and get them all excited. It's just a truck demo, nothing fancy. Starting next week will be the beginning of our 2-week-long spring voucher program that'll be running from April 29th through May 11th. We're doing this in collaboration with the Grand County Emergency Department. They've been running some ads on behalf of us and they've been getting a lot of good engagement. I checked this morning and right now we have 110 or 112 registrants for the program. And I was actually able to get a couple more people to sign up for the Earth Day event yesterday. So that's good. Let's see. I've been working on removing the 2593867 number, which was the number that was originally at the CRC. Since I am no longer at that office, there's no reason for it really to be active anymore. So removing it off of all of our graphics online. I've made several requests to Google and Google Maps to change that information as well. Just trying to basically track down where that number is anywhere and everywhere and remove it. So everybody will call just the 2596314 number. Continue ticket entry on both the trackers and AMCS. So basically just creating a secondary record while we're doing the transition into the AMCS, but we're also still utilizing that as our reporting volumes for the quarterly UDEQ reports. Working on revised and increased signages and flyers, revamping and displaying consistent info. And then unfortunately, I was unable to distribute a newsletter in April. I just ran out of time. So that's all I got.
April's not over. Just kidding.
Well,
That's all right. Thanks, Jessica. Nick, you have anything?
Yeah, I just want to remind that the annual audit will be taking place on May 20th. So like last year, just have I think they sat at that table that you're all are at right now. So just be aware that they'll be in there probably. The 20th is a Monday, so Monday, Tuesday, and probably part of Wednesday is probably what the audit period will be. And I'll be out there for that. In conjunction with that, still reviewing the balance sheet. There's Lily and I will work on, or I'll let her know that there's a couple credit cards that still need some transactions related to 2023 entered, so we can go over those. So just continuing to review the balance sheet, make sure it's ready to go for the audit for the auditors to look at. For the first quarter, if the billing hasn't gone out yet for March, then once that does go out, then I can figure out how to do that revenue entry and get that item booked, so we can hopefully get Q1 closed up from a P&L standpoint.
Okay, we did invoice March 2 weeks late out of Terra Trash, so I
Oh.
can get you information tomorrow if you need it.
Okay, I can pull those reports then.
Okay,
They're dated March 31st, the transactions.
I believe so, yeah. I think Savannah had problems with one, I think maybe the MCC accounts. I'll talk with her tomorrow about it. I think they were dated April 10th.
Okay, yeah, I'll look at that and see what maybe it looks a little different. I think, oh, I did meet with Raftellus on Friday with a Zoom call. They're fine tuning. We had a discussion about fine tuning with their rate structure, and so I think we left that meeting with them going to do some tweaking on their end, and so Mike, they will probably get back to us here, I would think, this week with some more figures.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Nick. Is
Yeah.
that it?
Yes.
All right. Item F, board reports. Diane, do you have anything to report?
Yes, the first request is for Jessica to take down the Recycling Coalition of Utah thing that's on the screen. And thank you. And then I guess the cleanup went quite well here in Castle Valley. I think after a couple of years of seemingly beating our heads against the wall, trying to inform people about bringing things that are in perfect or very close to new shape and tossing them in the landfill, I think there was less stuff like that this year. I know I took a truckload of stuff up to the community rebuilds for their yard sale that they had the following Saturday. And the other thing that was quite unique is that they had the city of the town of Castle Valley created a sheet for all the volunteers that showed the things that could not be put in these in the landfill, and they left off e-waste. So I'm standing around and some of this stuff's coming in, and it's like screens and keyboards and all kinds of stuff. And here's little old Diane, and I'm going, you can't put that in the landfill. And, it was a lot of stuff throughout the morning. And had I not been there, I don't think that stuff would have been taken out. So, yes, I would like for them to run something like that by me next year. That would be a good suggestion so that we would get everything on the sheet. But anyway, we did not put it in the landfill. And I guess that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Diane. Colin, do you have anything?
I do. First, I'm sorry about what's happening at the city. Yeah, it feels like it was a slam dunk, and now we're not quite back to square one, but we've lost some ground.
We'll get there.
Yep, we will. And so,
The city manager leaving, was that what you're talking about?
yeah, and she was in communication with Mike and just basically walked away from that. so I've been speaking with people, so we do have our next city council meeting on May 14th. We now have a workshop, and so it would be wonderful if one or both of you could come to this workshop and answer questions. I think that'd be incredibly helpful. The theme of concern that I'm hearing, is, and which is understandable, is the loss of negotiating power for residential costs. And I haven't been able to combat that with any sort of figures. And so, you know, when we can have some kind of concrete numbers of what kind of price increases we're looking at, that's gonna make it. Right now, the unknown and uncertainty of it is scary to folks. Folks being other council members. I do think other council members are still on board and still would like to see trash and recycling being taken out of the city's hands, and turned over, but, we just have a little bit more convincing to do. So,
Okay, May
Yeah.
14th?
yeah, and you know, if we wanna, as those numbers come in next week, if we wanna get together and anything that I can do to sort of preempt these conversations, I would very much like.
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay,
You let me know what works for your schedule, but we'll know more after we actually talk to Rap Dallas
okay,
again.
absolutely. And then has there been thought, and I know that's what that report will help with, but you know, when you're crunching the numbers, have you put any thought into what would be needed from the city and broken that down into per house? Cost, or, you know, just waiting for all that.
I'm a little hesitant to throw out numbers at the public meeting here.
Sure, and I'm not, you don't have to, but you've had those conversations and thoughts?
We've got figures where we want to get to, we have to get to. The rate increases that Raftellus suggested just to cover our expenses and our debt. We haven't set, the board did not go to the most expensive option. I can't say that the city is paying $20 a house now. The rate now in the county is 32. So we need to be closer to 32 than we do 20.
Sure.
I do think they probably should have a little bit of a discount for the volume, so to speak, and the fact that the homes are closer together. There's still the disposal and the transfer expense, period. So like I said, I don't really want to throw out a set number here and set the world on fire.
And you absolutely don't have to, but well, that's gonna be so important, and also, you know, that understanding of how long it's been since there's been a price increase.
Exactly.
We're losing the negotiating power for bin sizes or bin choices, anything else that's gonna be, you know, areas that we can address and these people better is really important moving forward.
We'll gladly answer any questions and discuss it with anyone.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it would be so helpful to have you at that workshop. Okay,
We'll make it happen.
and then the other relevant piece is that you probably all know about the situation of Walnut Lane. What's important here, and it's an incredibly unfortunate situation. What's important to us is that there are gonna be 25 trailers that are gonna be needing to be disposed of off that property by July 31st. And so we are gonna need to start thinking about that yesterday.
Is the city hiring a contractor to do that?
That hasn't even been discussed yet at this point, and I guess maybe those trailers don't necessarily have to be off by that time. But that property will no longer be insured on July 31st. And so, I'm sorry, probably August 1st. And so that's gonna mean that fence around that whole property, and anything that's a liability on that property is probably gonna have to be mitigated, so.
Anything you want to address about the trailers?
Might be a good time to bring up to the city the impending closure of Moab landfill and how 25 trailers is definitely
Well,
going.
and that Walnut Lane, they're probably not gonna be able to go unless there's a contractor that's gonna go in there and
Asbestos.
either remediate
asbestos.
or segregate the asbestos containing material from the trailer. Probably at something at that size would probably just be like, rather than if we can get in communications with the right people, we can probably talk either with the state or Steve McClure or one of the local inspectors and just try to do this in a bulk
Yeah.
thing and just assume that everything's gonna go to Klondike, and if
Yep.
we treat it all as asbestos containing materials, I could probably just fast track that, as long as what I would need is a sign off that there's no friable asbestos on it.
Okay,
And
That's gonna be the biggest stumbling block is the asbestos, and
okay.
just knowing the state of some of those and the age of them,
Absolutely, yeah, there's
majority of them. are gonna have-
we've received a lot from Walnut Lane, and it's generally roof mastics and tiling in the kitchen and the bathroom is usually what ends up, and it's non-friable.
Okay,
And we've handled them both ways, when where contractors have come in and they've removed the non-friable asbestos, small load to Klondike, up to the rest up to Moab. And honestly, they don't take up a lot of space.
okay, yeah,
I mean, they squash down
yeah.
pretty good, especially if we remove the metal framing.
Okay. Maybe there's a silver lining, there's a revenue or something. Yeah.
Hard to call that situation or find a silver.
100%, yeah.
But yeah.
Just grasping at it.
But I think
Yeah.
communication with us, and if we can work with them, that would probably help expedite anything that happens there.
So what can I do? This time, who can I put you in touch with? Who can
Just
I-
who's ever gonna be kind of,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know who in the city would be in charge of kind of getting that place cleaned up.
Okay, yeah.
Who's ever in charge there, just give my number and.
Jones, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll put you in touch with somebody. Okay, that's it for me.
I have a few things to report. So I also attended the Tawana convention last week. The district paid for my training and my registration, and I paid for my lodging and airfare. So I attended the zero waste principles and practices training. I just wanted to give you a brief summary, just kind of get the board and everybody here thinking a little bit about some of these things. So we're all familiar with the zero waste hierarchy, which we hear reduce, reuse, and then recycle comes third. Actually, according to the hierarchy, it comes fourth. Because first thing should be rethink. So like an example of that is some municipalities require new construction to be designed for reconstruction or demolition, right? Before it's even approved, it's got to be the end of life needs to be considered as well. A lot of the principles that were brought up in this would work a lot better in places that have a much larger population than Moab and are not as isolated as Moab. So like many of these things would be implemented on either like a state or the federal level, but it does kind of make me wonder like what things could the district kind of lean on the county or the city to kind of, what changes can we make to either to reduce waste? I know, we did have the plastic bag ban. Maybe we can lean on the city to, we could implement a tax on glass bottles, so we encourage more people to buy cans because they're easier to recycle, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, that's my summary. I don't want to drag on too long. I was going to point out that one member of my class said that like if you're not purchasing recycled products, then you're not actually recycling because you're not closing the loop. You're not helping to create demand. So it led to an impulse buy. I bought these new pants at Costco last weekend, which were made from plastic bottles, apparently. So I saw that. I was like, was not in the market for new pants, but I bought them anyway. So I wore them back just to show them off.
Nice. Are they comfortable? Yeah.
It's the first time I've worn them. They're pretty comfy. I think they look all right. I don't know what
Don't get around a
percentage.
fire, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for, scared, dude. I'm not sure what percentage of them is actually recycled.
Keep them away from the lithium batteries too, right?
No phone
I
in your
can't put
pocket.
the phone in my pocket. Anyhow. That's my report. Moving on to item G. Vote for special population service discounts. It's you, Lily?
Yeah, so we talked about this at the last board meeting. Some households are having, mainly seniors have said they're having a hard time paying, keeping up with our $8 a month fee increase. If solid waste was to take over the city contract or increase city prices, garbage pickup is mandatory in the city. So I reached out to Chris Kaufman. We had talked about following Grand County's tax abatement policies, and he was concerned about disclosing just privacy, which I totally understood. I was trying to have this be a simple program and not reinvent the wheel. So I was thinking if people qualify for that program, they could qualify for a service discount here. At this point in time, he just gave me numbers. So there are 87 recipients within the city of Moab. And in Grand County as a whole, there are 100. I want to say there was like 94 within Grand County, Spanish Valley. And then I want to say like 6 households in Castle Valley. And
Sorry, do I understand? So there's 100 total in all of Grand County?
well, I included
So the
Castle Valley.
87
Oh, they're
in Moab.
separate.
Okay, so there's
Yeah.
approximately 200.
Approximately 200,
Okay.
correct. Yeah. So I was looking at Grand County as a whole because they
And
have
then-
one pricing
And then
structure.
outside of Grand,
And then city of Moab.
non-incorporated. Okay.
And there are different pricing structures. We do have the rural pricing for Thompson and Castle Valley. But I was looking at some numbers and again, these were just ballparks. So for 2024, we increased service fees within Grand County by 30%. If we did that same 30% on Moab City's existing rate of $20, again, I'm not saying this is what we're doing. I was just trying to get ballparks. It would cost the district a total of not quite $1,500 a month to accommodate those households to maintain 2023 pricing. Which I thought I don't want to give up any revenue right now. It's obviously not the rosiest picture, but I thought $1,500 a month when our expenses are over 350,000 wasn't that much of a loss. So I just wanted the board to consider that, especially, it doesn't need to be voted on this, meeting. I just wanted to apply some numbers to it.
And so it goes off the state, the circuit breaker criteria, is that right? So 65 plus
With
income, 65 veteran status, 65, it's all age-based, right?
Age-based, I think there is purely income-based also, but it was quite low. I want to say it was like $40,000 or less, depending on
Yeah, just
household
range.
size.
Okay,
So I don't have those specifics with me today, but I
Yeah.
felt like Grand County's program, which does encompass almost all of our service area minus, the San Juan side of
Yeah.
Spanish Valley. I thought for goodwill, $1,500 a month might be worth it,
okay,
but it would be a decision for the board.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah, does anybody want to make a motion or should we wait until next month when we have potentially 5 board members?
And perhaps more firm numbers on the city contract also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we should look into that because I think that the state's property tax, their circuit breaker program, I do think that there's an age component. I don't think there is just an income without the age component.
I can reach out to Chris again. I just feel like the county treasurer has this so dialed in.
Absolutely, and yeah. But I do know that they just raised the income.
He did bring up though that this would not affect renters. It would only benefit people that are lucky enough to own property and own their home. I did speak with Mike about this and we thought typically utilities or garbage services included in rental agreements. So I'm not sure how much our fee increases are trickling down to people that rent. And I'm not sure how we can be fair to everyone and accommodate everyone. I was just trying to find a program that was the least administrative burden.
Okay. Anything else from the board? No, I guess we will hear more on that next time. Move on to item H.
Okay.
PTF Public Entity Resolution to amend unauthorized PTF. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in preparing the transfer for this year to pay the bond, I figured out how to log into the PTIF fund, and there's quite a bit of information on there that is outdated. We've since moved away from the PO box as a way to save money. It was $350, I want to say, for 6 months for the PO box rental. So rather than receiving mail at 2 locations, it made sense when the district was only at Sand Flats, since mail is not delivered there. But we have a mailing address here, so we've gotten rid of that. Also, the current authorized users are Mary McGann and Kaylin Jones. And I believe the user login was, oh gosh, Hackley, Pam Hackley. Yeah, it's really dating back. So I am not authorized, so to make changes, Mary McGann would be the only one. I think that it can be burdensome, just a burden for Mary to take care of these more just housekeeping things. And I was going to ask the board if they're comfortable either appointing an employee to do this, either Mike or myself, to upkeep for the PTIF their records. There's a form that would be filled out and it would have to be notarized by Mary, since she's the only current signer or approved authorized person. But I wanted to bring that to the board.
I can't imagine Mary objecting to having some work taken off of her.
I do wonder, however, has Mary been in on the loop of this? I think Mary should know about this before we make a change. But I think it sounds quite doable to have somebody there in the SISWA be on there. But I think Mary needs to be in the loop first.
Absolutely. It was in the board packet, but since she's not in attendance at this meeting, I did not reach out to her prior. I wanted to respect her time and had assumed she would be at this meeting. But this can definitely wait until the next board meeting.
Okay. I think we should wait.
Okay.
Let's see, so item I is the next board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, May 15th. Mark your calendars. And that brings us to item J, which is.
Was the last one put off till 4:30? Was the last, because wasn't there like a funny thing with Mary?
One started at 3, I want to say, because of Mary one time.
Probably.
You have a lot of meetings.
We'll let you slide this time.
Thank you.
And without any further ado, I will adjourn this meeting.
I second that.
I don't need to call for a vote.